All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aaron Norris, and I'm really glad that you decided to join us for lunch today. Um, it might go a little bit shorter, I'm thinking, but one never knows, depending on the questions that we end up getting. Just really grateful you decided to join us for this information session on Multi-Millionaire Maker. I get to switch seats. Dad's usually the one on the radio show doing all the interviews, and I get to interview him a little bit today. We've gotten a ton of questions. This is such a different event than what a lot of people have seen us do in the last 8 years, and it's really hard to believe we haven't done this event in that long. So, Bruce, Dad, thanks for joining us
Hi.
today. So, I'm going to start with a few basic questions, sort of as we've been talking to people in the community, hearing a bunch of different questions, and really interested in getting some more information on what the Millionaire Maker is. So, in your words, why Millionaire Maker and why now?
You know, the Millionaire Maker event to me is our most special event. And here's the essence of it. It forces you to get rid of words like try and instead gets you to commit to I will. And I'm so excited, actually. I just got off the phone with someone that's a participant at the event, and I'll share that in a little while. But I got him to make it a commitment that's the hardest thing for him to accomplish in his entire life. And this is from a guy that's completely accomplished in every other area. And this one area he's committed to for this event for a length of 60 days. And what he's giving up is very important to his life. That's what the Millionaire Maker is about. It's about trying to find that intensity level inside of us that we all have, that we very rarely bring out. We haven't had one of these for 8 years. The last time we did this, I committed to a goal of, I believe it was, lifting 315 pounds in front of a group. The time before that, I said I would lose 50 pounds in 100 days. When you verbally make a statement you're going to do something in front of a great crowd of friends and clients, you keep your word. And that's kind of what the Millionaire Maker is asking of everybody that attends, is that you take this serious. You look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, there's a whole nother level inside of me that I rarely bring out. And that's what the Millionaire Maker does, is it entices the greatness out of each of us for as long as we want to bring it out. So that's what it's about.
It's interesting because we have the way that I market a lot of our events is it's pretty easy. This is one of the ones I have a hard time with because the when-to piece is easy for us, and that's the market timing reports, the California comeback, California crash. That's the when-to piece of the real estate investing business. Then there's the how-to stuff like our boot camp and the series, the California Only Investor Series, and that's the how-to piece. And this is really the why and the who-to piece. So, you want to talk a little bit about those two and why this is so different?
Yeah, I think that's what makes this a different event and probably hard to understand is the why to. Why should you take yourself to the next level? And whether it's in an accomplishment in real estate or a level of discipline, you're going to find they're all very connected. When I went about and solved a weight problem and lost 50 pounds, there were a lot of benefits because during that 100 days, I had to completely keep a promise to myself in the hardest category, stay away from overeating. That had benefits outside of that. And that's what the Millionaire Maker does. It's going to require a commitment that'll have whatever your commitment is, whether it's in, okay, I want to turn this many transactions or whatever it is. That commitment, once you make a promise to yourself and keep it, especially if it's in a category that you usually find it difficult, then you end up having benefits outside of that category because we all have that one area where we go, you know what, I'm lousy at keeping commitments. And I think that's why, we try to choose who showed up for this event and who will be presenting, is because they're very accomplished, but each of them has a category that they want to work on. And so anyway, that's what's nice about this group is that, yes, we're very accomplished, but we're also in those areas that we're not good at. We're going to struggle along with everyone else in that 60 days to keep our commitment that we set.
It's
So
almost
we have to figure out the why to. Why do I turn this on, and how do I keep it on for the rest of my life?
right, and you sort of said it. It's almost like you're reading the next bullet point. We get a lot of questions about whether this is just about real estate, and it's not just about real estate. It carries over into a lot of other areas in life.
You know, I guess I'm so stoked about what just happened. I'll share it, because it's a big deal and it's a big commitment on his part, and I'm excited about it. Mike Cantu and I, with Tony Alvarez, we ate at lunch about a month ago, and we talked about what would we each do for the 60-day period after. And I directly asked Mike, I said, would you give up smoking? And it was, what? That's his hard thing. It's the number one goal in his life, and yet the Mike Cantu that we all know and love as this very disciplined person who wakes up in the morning and does sit-ups and push-ups and have done it for, let's say, 1,500 days running, when asked if you'll quit smoking, he said, I'll try. And that's the whole point, is that we all have that category where we become this little person and we go, I'll try. And that was Mike at that time. Today, literally within 10 minutes of this program, I got Mike to say that he would quit smoking for 60 days. And honestly, he became such a great person in my mind at that point because he took on the burden of a teacher. In other words, I'm going to do this for myself, but because I've put myself in a position of responsibility to lead the way. And he really did that. But that's a tough one for him to change. We all have that area. That's what the Millionaire Maker is about. So is it about real estate? Yeah, for some people it will be 100% about real estate because that's where you're going to go with your goals. For me, that's not true. And for Tony Alvarez, it's not true. And for Mike Cantu, it's not true. But the effect will be the same. It'll be that we emerge from the 60 days having kept a promise that was very difficult for 2 months.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think about mine right now, and I've been really looking forward to this. Actually, I didn't start working with the Norris Group until after the first Millionaire Maker, and I was so stressed out about the 2006 one and producing it, I really didn't get to participate. And I think one of my favorite things about that event is you collect just such a great panel of people that are also different but have been wildly successful, and you always find a number of people that are inspiring and that you relate to. I just really can't wait to try to really go through the 60-day process this year after the event. So I'm looking forward to it too. Does Mike know that you were going to announce the no smoking today, by the way?
Yeah, I did. He did. I'll tell you what. I am now in the category of the greatest closers of all time.
That's no joke.
I had to get a yes answer out of Mike and tell him I was going to tell people. He said, and you're going to tell people. I said, well, listen, when I said I was going to lose 50 pounds, if I'd have kept it to myself, I wouldn't have lost 10.
That's true.
That's the power of public commitment.
Well, what I'd love to do is go through sort of our table of contents, if you will, for the live event, because there's the live event, the 2.5 days, and then we go to the 60 days after event. So it's not just the live event. And we really don't – why is it that you don't like mentoring? You've been asked – we get asked all the time, I would just like Bruce to mentor me, and you always say no. So why don't you like doing that?
Actually, I love doing it. I like doing it for free. To be honest with you, in other words, people can call me, and you know this.
Right.
I pick up the phone, and I'll talk to anybody about whatever their situation is. What I don't like to do is get in a situation where I'm charging, we did this one time, $500 an hour for my time, and I felt like a lawyer, and I didn't like the feeling. So I love to teach, and if you can use the word mentor if I'm available, somebody that's paid for our education has access to me whenever I'm here. So I guess I don't want to have it as a separate category and say, okay, well, you signed up for mentoring. The other thing is when you actually do that, where you say, okay, well, I'm going to mentor you, you may have signed up with the wrong person. And I had some experiences like that, where when we did it one time, we had people pay for 10 sessions. We didn't think anybody would sign up. That was one of my goals, but we sold out immediately. But sometimes the people that sign up aren't the people that should spend money that way. And so I had a first meeting saying, this is what you do to in the next 30 days, and they would come back and they hadn't done any of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do with that. In other words, okay, we have to get to the bottom of why you won't do what's necessary. And I guess that's what the Millionaire Maker is forcing us to do. We're going to look in the mirror and say, okay, knock this off. You're this big person that solves all of these situations and are very willful. And over here, this child shows up and says, I'll try. And yet the one that you are trying to accomplish is one of the most important yeses you'll ever need in your life. That's what the Millionaire Maker is about. So it's not just about real estate. It takes whatever your highest need is and requires you to say, you know what, for the next 60 days, I'm going to not BS myself. I'm going to absolutely give this 100% of my effort.
Wow. And, we're only doing it once, and a big piece of that is because of the follow-up afterwards. Have you and Tony decided what your goals are going to be?
Tony needs to lose weight. We've talked honestly about that. So for 60 days, he's going to be perfect on the diet. I'm going to do the same thing. I lost 50 pounds. I've gained about 25 of it back. I don't need that. So for 60 days, I'm going to commit to losing that 25 pounds.
All right. Well, let's go through the table of contents. We got a limited amount of time today, so would love to sort of find out the people that are going to be involved in the live event and sort of why you chose them. So the first one, Diana Nyad, at 61 years old, woke up one day and I guess said, hey, what else is there to do besides swim from Cuba to Florida? So how did you find out about Diana Nyad? And,
well, I was watching TV one night and her documentary came on, and it was so inspiring and so touching at the same time. I cried. I watched it 3 or 4 times. I cried each time. I said, man, that's a person you build a Millionaire Maker around. Just her level of effort was astonishing. I'd never seen anything like it. If I looked in the mirror, I'd have to admit I've never tried that hard in anything. And so she deserves the right to say to an audience, you know what? There's a whole nother level for you, but you have to learn how to give your all. And on Friday night, we'll watch that documentary and together. And that's what part of this is kind of a joint experience where we all experience these emotions. And when she comes to speak with us, that room will be already amped up. And she has a very special story that's very touching, but I've never seen anyone more willful. And she was spurred on by the death of her mother, and she asked herself the question, is there anything that I want to do that I have not done in my life? Because she realized the clock was ticking. And so her story inspired me, and I just think, you know what, I want to share her with an audience. That's exactly why Millionaire Maker exists, is to touch the hearts of our clientele that have been that are our friends, and say, how can we put an event together that is, yes, it's unusual. It's not just real estate related, but probably will be the most impactful 2.5 days I can give you for the next 5 years. Awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. So Friday night we start around 7 o'clock, and we're going to end up watching the movie together, and you end up doing a little bit of some talking, prepping for the next day, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So moving on into Saturday, we've talked a lot in the advertising about expanding the box, and what does that mean to you, and what are we talking about?
The first thing that strikes me is a picture of a guy with a double chin. So that's got to go.
Okay.
Okay. I really think that whenever we're raised, we observed a box, and a box is what was expected, what you expected life to turn out as. So you were given a box to live in. And I think I chose Tony Alvarez partly for that reason. The box he was assigned to. The box that I was assigned to, I've changed that. And one of the reasons why you want to raise the bar is not just for your own life, because what you do in your life is a legacy to your family. So when I choose to expand the box and what I see as potential for my life, I'm being observed by other people in my family, and they get the idea that, okay, this is possible for me too. an earlier Millionaire Maker, we had Rudy Rudiger. And I remember very specifically this part of the movie because he wanted to escape the box of, he was supposed to grow up and work at a factory. And he's sitting on the bench waiting for the bus to take him to Notre Dame. And his father comes, and all the caring in the world says, Rudy, Notre Dame is for smart kids, rich kids, great athletes. It's not for a Rudiger. He said, you can have a great life, but it's not going to be, playing football for Notre Dame. You're going to work in the factory, and you can have a darn good life doing that. And Rudy said, I don't think so. And he went on to do what he did. But what part of that movie, what the movie doesn't tell you is he had 4 younger brothers that didn't go work in the factory because they saw that Rudy expanded the box and their expectation changed. That's what the Millionaire Maker is about creating a whole different legacy for the rest of your family for the rest of time. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's why I put the word leverage in there. We've heard that from several people who had attended the progress that they made, their family watched, and it affected the lives of many. So it's one of the reasons I know this event is really special to you. After the morning session on Saturday, we move into Mike Cantu. Maybe talk a little bit about Mike and why you chose him to participate again this year.
Mike is really one of the most complete package of a buyer as far as his disciplined approach. His methodical education. At lunch, when I go with him, I usually try to ask a question because he contemplates things a great deal. And I remember asking him one lunch, what's non-negotiable in your day? And he thought about that and called me back the next day. It's reading. He's always improving. And so when you get Mike Cantu, and he hasn't taught for over a year now, when you get Mike Cantu to tell you his insights on all these different areas of our business, that's real important. We just raised the bar, and now he's committed to something that's the most difficult thing in his life. I could have asked him, okay, Mike, your goal is to buy 20 houses in the next 60 days. Mike knows how to do that. Mike doesn't know how to quit smoking yet, but he's going to try his best for 60 days. And that word try is going to be replaced by I will. And that's, again, that's the whole point. And I'm so proud of him for making that commitment. He just become a great teacher. That's a big deal to me.
All right. I can't believe you got him to do that. That is pretty awesome.
I'm a great closer. That's all I can say.
You are. I heard you on the phone with him. I think it was the time before last, and that word try, I think he used that on the phone. And, oh, you gave him such a hard time. Like that, the word try, I didn't even know that was in your vocabulary.
Well, and it's because he knows I care about him.
Yeah.
But try is a child's word.
Yeah. That's, I think, the word that you used.
Yeah, I did. I actually said that to Mike. Was it an attempt to irritate him? Yeah, in a way. But you know what? I do it to myself. I'll try to lose 25 pounds. Well, whenever that word escapes my mouth, it isn't going to happen. Yeah. Everyone listening on this, probably in the property buying business, when you have a contractor, and you tell him, hey, this stuff has got to be done by Friday, and he says, well, I'll try. It ain't getting done. You can't bring I'll try to this event. I won't let you leave with it. I won't.
Well, one of the different things that we decided to do, the first 2 years were 3.5 days, and they came with so much extra stuff. We've really gotten rid of a lot of the stuff. Back in '06 is when the iPod first became very popular, and I worked with all the publishers of some of your favorite books. So when people arrived, they ended up getting a fully loaded iPod with all the material, which was a chore. So now everybody has a different way of liking to consume information. So there are some books following up the event, but we stripped it down to 2 days and a slightly different format. This time you're using more panels, and I like this. So our very first panel on Saturday is a women's panel, and why did you decide to do that?
Well, when you teach an audience of 400 people, let's say, and 5% of them are women, or you teach a boot camp and you get 15 people and one is a woman, that's an odd ratio for real estate. So real estate agents, they're dominated by women. Real estate investing is dominated by men. And so I thought a women's panel of very successful investors What makes them tick? Why did you make it when other people don't? Why did you make it when other people attempt and can't? And you know what? I think one of the things I like about education is I'm always the one that learns the most. So I got to interview these people and ask them their story. And everybody that attends the Millionaire Maker event will have the recording of each of those interviews. But on this panel, we'll expose some of their commonalities. And I think what's fun about this is one determined group of people. That's what it boils down to. They would not take no for an answer.
Yeah, and just these 5 ladies named Donica, Jennifer, Andrea, Holly, and Iris, just some of my favorite people in the business, and I love seeing them, and they've got great stories, and they're just really good at what they do. So interested to hear. I haven't got a chance to hear the interviews that you did. We recorded those a couple weeks ago, and all of them are about 20 minutes, so looking forward to hearing each one of those. And then there's the men's panel. We've got 4: Rick Solis, Doug Van Soest, Steve Landis, and Silvio Bergladio. Same sort of concept, right?
Same sort of concept. In a way, these are younger guys. I still consider Rick a younger guy that have really hit it out of the park, in my opinion, and done it the right way. I think what you mentioned is true, that we've kind of selected people that we really respect in the industry and have had success. This is an interesting group. Once again, listening to the interviews will be kind of fascinating. All of these are very entrepreneurial guys that chose real estate, not first sometimes, in other words, they've kind of led themselves into it. But some of these guys were reading like Think and Grow Rich when they were 9 years old. So it's interesting that some of these had a bent that they were going to be successful. So these were not kids that had a lot of peers they could talk to. You know, you can't be in 4th grade going, well, what do you think of Think and Grow Rich or The Richest Man in Babylon? You know, you don't have anyone to talk to. So it's interesting that some of these guys had a box that was leading them to a successful life, but they changed to real estate and then built a fortune. So it's again, just really fun and educational interviewing these guys.
All right. After both the panels, we're going to move on to what successful investors have in common. And you didn't even know there was 34 items that you put, and I just pulled that out and thought it was interesting. So we move on to this next section. Did you want to mention anything about this in particular?
Well, you know, that was part of the reason doing all the interviews with everybody, is to sit there and go, okay, what do these people have in common? What were the moving parts to where you say, okay, you want to be successful, then don't be missing many of these 34 things, right? Because this is what makes this group tick.
Got it. Okay. This is going to be one that I am very excited to hear. It's what we're calling the legacy panel. So sort of the old guard, bringing them back up. Not to say that all of them are very old. Sometimes that's a horrible term to use. But
yeah.
Talk about the 4 people you selected and why.
Legacy panel. That's a perfect word. I guess I wanted to now take a look kind of in the rearview mirror and say, okay, you did all of this. It's in real estate. You know, what would you do differently? How did it change your life? And all these people also answered the question, what box were you given? And I think the most profound moment for me was I was interviewing Ward Hannigan. And Ward shared something with me that he knows I'm going to share with you, but I'd never heard before. Ward Hannigan was an orphan. He and his brother lived in an orphanage. And I'm going to get emotional, but that's the way it goes. When he was 8 years old, he went on a 1-week trip with his aunt. And his big brother took up the back seat, so he couldn't sit there, so he sat in the front. And he talked to his aunt from the front seat as they went around and took a vacation. And when he got dropped back off at the orphanage, his aunt said to him, he said, Ward, I'm not going to worry about you anymore. you're going to grow up to be a great man and you're going to be very wealthy. And Ward said that he bought it hook, line, and sinker, and that every disappointment after that wasn't a big deal because he knew his ultimate outcome, because his aunt told him so. That's the power of giving somebody a bigger box.
Yeah.
If you buy into it, anything is possible. That's what we're going to do for an audience, is we're going to raise the bar and say, whatever you thought was your parameters and your restrictions, knock that off because it's not true. One thing that everybody has in common that these of these panelists is they were pretty average people that had great determination. They would not give up. Anybody attending that seminar can develop that will.
That's cool. I had never heard that story either. I thought that was pretty neat. I've never heard him share that before.
No, I mean, it's to me that was one of the most profound things I ever heard interviewing somebody, and it was a gutsy thing to share. But just the effect of a very bright woman saying, I don't have to worry about you anymore. You're going to become a great man. And the impact of that made his life okay, even though there were a lot of things happened to him that weren't pleasant. He had that to hang his hat on, that this is going to pass, and I'm going to be a great man.
Awesome. All right, well, after the legacy panel, we've got Ben Gay III. We haven't had Ben Gay back in a really long time. And you love some Ben Gay. Talk to us a little bit about Ben.
You know, whenever you have a paid speaker, what typically happens is they come for their hour or two and then they're gone. And this is an all-star guy. I mean, in his world, he's like the god of door-to-door salespeople. He wrote the Bible for door-to-door salespeople. He writes the scripts for door-to-door salespeople. If you've ever not been able to get rid of a guy at your door, it's his fault because he writes scripts and all that. Why he's here, though, is because he is the genuine article. He's been the #1 salesperson for every place he's ever worked for, including a very special company called Holiday Magic. Holiday Magic was one of the first multi-level companies ever in America that made it really big. And people like Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, etc., worked for that company. The #1 salesperson for the company was Ben Gay. And what he'll do, though, he's this speaker that comes and speaks for us for an hour or two, but he will stay for 2 days and talk to you. And I appreciated that about him so much, that he's a genuine article, and he loves to share. You pick up the phone and call his number, you talk to Ben Gay. I like the man. That's why he's here, is that I respect his sales ability, but he also takes it to the other side. And he has worked changing the attitude of prisoners who thought they were given a certain box that they had to act out on. He's actually created a curriculum for them to understand you don't have to live that way anymore. So I just thought he was a direct hit, not only for our industry, but for what he's been able to help people see outside of their box.
Excellent. Okay. Looking forward to see him again. He's always a crowd favorite. And after him, we get Mr. Tony Alvarez. And I believe, I'm not sure, was Mike and Tony's first time speaking actually at the Millionaire back in
Yes.
05 and 06?
Yeah, I met Tony. We became friends. He had never spoken in front of an audience. I said, I want you to speak. And again, it was because of who he was. I mean, he was a good property buyer. I thought he was a great person. And I said, I want you to speak. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I purposely put him last because I knew he was going to hit it out of the park. And when Tony got done speaking at the Millionaire Maker event, people lined up to hug him, and they were crying. That's who Tony Alvarez is. I know he's been speaking a lot. What he's going to cover at this event is going to be different than what he shared, because it's going to have a lot to do with the box he was given and how he escaped that, and all of his study about how to work on your mind and how to make it work for you instead of against you. So his will be less real estate than people may be used to, but that's okay. Mike Cantor's will be a blend of real estate and where he came from. But anytime I speak at a Millionaire Maker event, I want Tony Alvarez there because of who he is.
Understandable. All right, we're rounding it out. Goal setting. This is a big part of the event, and you sort of got Mike, you and Tony sort of selected, and you're going to be asking everybody at the event to do the same, yes?
Well, as far as setting goals, yes. We're going to go through goal setting workshop where we're going to design the next 10 years of our life, and somewhere in there will be what we call BHAGs, big, hairy, or audacious goals.
All right.
And the importance of creating habits that make those reachable.
What was your very first BHAG?
Oh, it's interesting. I didn't even know goal setting existed. Honestly, it didn't until I was 28. Went to a seminar, Jim Rohn talked about goals. And in 3 hours, the man changed my whole life. I went home and I wrote goals, and my first BHAG was, you have to write it as if it exists. I look at my net worth and I am a millionaire. And that was a big whopper that night. But that was my first BHAG. And the importance of that type of a goal is that the next morning you don't get up and do the same thing, because you have an intensity about you that you've never had before. You know why you're getting up. You have something to accomplish, and you act differently. That's what goals do for me, and commitment does for me. To be honest with you, in kind of a selfish way, I need a Millionaire Maker myself, because we all can usually slide by doing less than our best. But the idea is, okay, can I one more time get the best out of Bruce Norris for 60 days, and let's see what I can accomplish. What major piece can I get done? And can I emerge from those 60 days looking myself in the mirror and being honest and say, for 60 days, I gave everything I had and kept my word to myself. I don't know how to put a price tag on that. I really don't.
No, and I think it's really different this time. It's 60 days, and every week on Friday from about noon to 1, we're going to be doing something like we're doing now. And I think for most of the weeks you've decided for at least 3 of the speakers to choose 2 of their favorite books, and then you chose 2 of your favorite books. We're going to dig in, maybe have some assignments, and have a follow-up every week where people will be able to ask live questions. I'm excited about that. You've never done sort of that interfacing before. It was always just sort of a journal. Why did you decide to change it up?
Well, first of all, I decided to hold off on setting a goal that I was going to reach and do it with everybody. So prior to this, I had done my goal, and at the day the event started, I had accomplished it. And I want people to realize that I'm as weak as everybody else, man. That they're in areas that are difficult for me. I have a struggle, and eating is one of them. I'm going to concentrate on dieting, and people are going to go through that journey and know that I've been either good or bad or whatever. Like Mike Cantu not smoking, the number 1 goal on Mike Cantu's list is, I am going to quit smoking. And then he lights up 1 hour later. That's just the nature of all of us, is when we deal with the thing that's hardest for us to do, that unless we have a commitment and maybe a crowd of people looking at us going, well remember what you promised, we won't keep our word to ourselves. And that's kind of what the 60 days is about, is everyone's going to have their own personal goal, whether it's financial or personal, but we're all going to be accountable to each other, and we're all going to support each other, because you know what? Some of us, we're going to mess up. Right. We're going to get back on the beam and work harder at it. That's what an event like this does.
Well, we've covered a lot about the event. People, if anybody would like to ask any questions, please type them in, and I can ask them live. Um, July, it seems like a lot of people are traveling, unfortunately, but it's a much different event in the size as well, though. So we're not expecting like our market timing seminars. There's no room for 500 people, and I feel that's super important. So we're not going to go that large, which is great.
No, you can't do this event with that many people. Whatever size we have, I'm sure it'll be 150 or less is really the perfect size audience. We want an intimate audience because it's just that it's that the nature of the event that works best.
I've got some other exciting news to announce. I just can't yet because we're not ready. It's technology related, but our material is going through some definite changes, which I'm really excited about. We just have to make sure it's all going to work before we talk more about it. But I got a few questions coming in. Will the weekly webinars and the 60-day follow-up period be recorded? And the answer is yes. So today we're recording as well. So if you wanted to listen to it later, we understand not everybody's going to be available from 12 to 1 every day. So yes, we are taping. If your last Millionaire Maker was 2006, does that mean this real estate market is going to collapse soon?
No, we didn't really try to time it with the next downturn. No, it has nothing to do with that, and it also has nothing to do with timing. No, I'm not going to discuss the word the idea of real estate timing is not going to be discussed during this event.
Fair enough. That was a really good question. And if anybody knows Dad, especially those of you who have worked with him on a panel, he absolutely hates being told the questions up front. So one of my surprises for you today, Dad, is somebody that I love. Every time I go to SDCIA, I look forward to seeing this person, and I'm hoping he and his entire family is there. He came to our first Millionaire Makers back in '05 and '06. And Mohammed, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
I'm so glad you got to join us because we were just about to finish up. I was afraid it wasn't going to work out. Mohammed is one of those people that you can almost expect every time you meet him he's going to be doing something different. I don't think I've ever met anyone personally that's it embodies the entrepreneurial spirit as much as he does. And I asked him to come on because he was there in '05 and '06, and he really the event meant a lot to him. And I just wanted to ask him a few questions. So, Mohammed, thanks again for joining us. And can you just tell us a little bit about you and what you've been doing the last 8 years?
Well, thanks for having me on the show. I've done quite a bit since I attended the first Millionaire Maker. I attended the first one in '05, and I was just coming off of my software venture. It was going down the drain at the time, and I didn't know what else to do after that. So I think Dina Forrester convinced me to come in and participate. And I think it was a life-changing event. Ever since, I used to always focus on the skills aspect of things. I would go out and acquire as many skills as I could, but then I never realized, or it never occurred to me, that the concept of the person you bring to the table, that was the biggest takeaway from that event. And I just loved every single minute I spent there. Ever since, I've done quite a bit. I have flipped houses. I have a real estate brokerage. I run a small fund now. I opened a chain of retail stores in Colorado, Utah, and California. My wife opened an imports company, and I just started on my master's from Harvard. So there's quite a bit I did, and all of it thanks to that great event in '05.
I think one of my favorite things that you shared with me the last time that we were in San Diego was that this event had a big impact on your family, and you've really stepped into the mentor role, which is really awesome to hear.
Well, yeah, I helped both of my brothers launch in businesses, my brother-in-law launch in business, and I have 4 other friends who are all multimillionaires now. and I'm a go-to person to a lot of people in my community, and so there's about 800 to 1,000 people that I know, and a lot of them come to me for help and advice. So my successes and failures have made me into a mentor now. So
Well, I love that it's interesting. One role model, how it just spreads, and it's really cool to hear that your family has really been involved. And I just absolutely love seeing you guys when you're down there, hearing what you're up to. So surprised, Dad. Do you have any questions for Mohammed?
Well, you know what? I'm just I'm grateful that you pointed out that what we emphasize is who you bring to the business, and that's that. At the end of the day, it's the most important ingredient that can be missing is the person that believes that they deserve a piece of the American dream, and that's the idea of expanding the box that you might have yourself in, and if it's like Mike Cantu's committed to a personal goal that he wants to achieve, and he has a real good reason to do that. He's got a grandchild now, so when he's successful with this, and he will be successful, it'll be because he's got a reason to, and that's what this event will do. Is it'll expose a reason for you to do better than you've ever done, try harder than you've ever tried. So, Mohammed, I appreciate you sharing your story, because that's exactly what we want people to leave with, is a life-changing event.
well, you know, one other thing I want to point out is the character qualities I built ever since I attended that seminar. All those qualities have transitioned into many other businesses and pretty much everything in life. So thank you very much for having that one. That was a beautiful event. I also attended the one in 2006, which was as good as '05. So I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mohammed. I really appreciate you joining us today, and just in the nick of time, literally. I don't have any other questions. If anybody has any other questions, we're going to end here pretty soon. Dad, do you have anything else you want to add?
You know, I guess I wanted to say thanks for letting me be the teacher. I've learned an awesome amount from the group that we call friends and our business associates, and we'll make this Millionaire Maker very special. I appreciate all the trust that you guys have in us, and you won't be disappointed. You attend this event, you'll leave going, I'm sure glad I came.
Agreed. We've got the early pricing up until right after Father's Day. That helps us make sure we're printing the right amount of books, so if you plan on attending, please do so by Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Dad, and all you fathers out there. And with that, I think we're going to end early. I don't have any other questions. This will be up on the website hopefully tomorrow for everybody to view, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.